So welcome back, VMworld TV. Geordy here. I'm downstairs at the breakout sessions, and I'm talking here with a colleague of mine from the Netherlands, Martijn Baecke, who is one of the leading experts on Docker containers. Martijn, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, so you just had a breakout session, and there were customers there. What was the burning questions that customers came out of that?
Well, customers are curious about how to run Docker containers on top of vSphere. That's actually what they're interested in. That was the reason why they came to my session, because we are creating a product, vSphere Integrated Containers. And vSphere Integrated Containers is basically the native integration of how to run Docker containers, in this case, on top of your vSphere infrastructure.
Okay. And so it was announced this morning or yesterday by Pat that we're going to have integrated containers running in 6.5. So I'm assuming that we're going to get into a situation where people are going to start running production containers. What was also announced yesterday is that we are going to integrate with AWS. So what are your thoughts? If I was to deploy a Docker container, what would be the requisites to say, okay, I'm going to run this on-prem or I'm going to run it off-prem on AWS?
So most customers would start with vSphere Integrated Containers because they are already running vSphere at the moment. What does it provide to the developer at some point is that if he's creating it in a Docker container, he can then bring it over to AWS and basically run it on the same principles as running it on vSphere. Because that's the value that you get from Docker containers, is that you create an application and code it into the container. If you can do it on vSphere Integrated Containers, you can import it to AWS pretty fast.
Okay, so what I've seen in the past couple of months or years that I've been doing this is when I talk to customers about containers, it's mostly dev, it's playtime, playground. Now I've only met one customer that had anything running on containers in production. Do you have any experience on that?
Well, I think that most developers are still trying to understand what it actually means for them. Of course, Docker containers has taken a ramp for the last 3 years. I think 3 years ago was Docker Economia. It was a full hype and developers loved it. But when you're going through dev test and at some point you need to go to production, and then the question becomes from how is IT operations going to run vSphere integrated containers on top of vSphere? That's actually the big question, and that's what we're now trying to solve. And I think VMware saw that problem, and we're now trying to solve that by giving the capabilities of vSphere integrated containers to our vSphere admins so that they can run Docker containers natively.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
And enjoy the rest of VMworld.
Yes.